It was supposed to be a routine patrol. Sergeant Wells and his squad of battle-hardened soldiers moved swiftly through the war-torn streets, weapons raised. The city had been evacuated months ago, its once vibrant towers and boulevards now lying cracked and desolate, the civilians long gone. Wells signaled for his squad to halt as a skittering sound echoed from around a bombed-out apartment block. He gestured silently for Corporal Sanchez and Private First Class Chen to flank left while he and Specialist Burton took the right. Wells felt his pulse quicken. If this was another pod of those Ravager shock troops, the four of them were in for a tough fight. The squad assembled at the street corner, covering all angles. Wells peered around carefully, scanning for any signs of movement. The street appeared empty, only dust and debris swirling around broken hunks of concrete. Wells was about to signal the all clear when a shrieking sound pierced the air, followed by answering cries. Hundreds of them. Ambush, Wells roared. A tide of chitinous bodies swarmed over the ruined buildings and poured out of every crack and crevice. The Ravagers had been lying in wait, perfectly camouflaged, and now burst from concealment in a terrifying horde. Wells fired controlled bursts as the nightmarish creatures scuttled towards the squad at unnatural speed, claws and mandibles gleaming. Sanchez let loose with his plasma rifle, while Chen hurled grenades into the advancing mass, blasting smoldering holes in the Ravager ranks. It barely slowed them. Fall back to the APC, now Wells ordered. The soldiers retreated down the debris-choked street, firing as they went. The Ravagers skittered after them, crawling over vehicles and around obstacles, undeterred by the weapons' fire-cutting sways through them. They were relentless, consumed by an insatiable hunger for human flesh. Wells and his squad made it back to the armored personnel carrier they had arrived in. Burton clambered into the gunner position and activated the heavy repeating cannon as Wells radioed for immediate evac. Hold them off until extraction gets here, Wells yelled, hurling another grenade underhand into the approaching swarm. The blast sent Ravager limbs spiraling through the air, but more kept coming, wave after wave, their shrieks and howls horrible to hear. The squad stood their ground, rallying around the APC. Burton raked the Ravagers with cannon fire while the others picked off any that came within range. Adrenaline flooded Wells' body as he fired and reloaded, the familiar rhythms of combat steadying his racing heart, despite the desperate ferocity of the Ravagers' assault. Running low on ammo here, Sarge Sanchez called out over the deafening cacophony of weapons fire and Ravager shrieks. Wells grimaced, glancing at his wrist display. Their extraction shuttle was still at least 5 minutes out. They just had to hold on a little longer. That's when it happened. A lucky shot from a Ravager plasma rifle sizzled into the APC's fuel tank. Wells and his squad threw themselves clear of the armored vehicle just as it erupted in a massive explosion. Flaming debris rained down as they took cover behind rubble. Now we've really pissed them off, Chen yelled, blasting away with his rifle on full auto. The swarm was virtually on top of them now, a seething mass of claws and fangs. Wells knew they couldn't possibly hold this position much longer. Grenades, use all of them, he bellowed. We're not dying here today. Sanchez, Chen, and Burton let fly with grenades while Wells calmly sighted down his rifle scope and took out Ravager after Ravager with clean headshots. One of the insectoid creatures broke through their defensive perimeter. Wells swung his rifle around like a club, crushing its bulbous head in a spray of neon ichor. Its mandibles snapped furiously just inches from his face as he slammed the rifle butt into it again and again before it finally went still. Sergeant Wells, the voice of Captain Russo, Wells' commanding officer, echoed over his helmet comms. Extraction shuttle ET 60 seconds. Get your squad to the LZ on the double. You get that, Marines Wells said. The shuttle's almost here. Tactical retreat on my command. We're getting out of this hellhole. The squad leaped over the barricade and sprinted down a debris-strewn side street, Ravagers swarming after them. The creatures crawled down walls and poured out of ruined buildings. Chen disappeared under a pile of them before Sanchez dragged him free, firing with one hand. They rounded a final corner. There in the middle of a wide boulevard was the extraction zone, the shuttle already touching down. Safety lay just 100 yards away. Go, urged Wells. We're going to make ARRGGHH. A Ravager barbed spear lanced through the air, spearing into Wells' lower back and exiting through his stomach in a spray of crimson. He stumbled and fell forward, his helmet bouncing off onto the rubble-strewn pavement. Sarge's hit, Chen cried. He made to turn back, but Wells roared through gritted teeth. I gave you an order. Get to that shuttle. Sanchez grabbed Chen as he hesitated. You heard the Sarge, we gotta go. Burton laid down suppressive fire as the others dragged Wells with them. His face was ashen under the grime and blood, but his eyes still burned with defiance. The squad staggered up into the shuttle, Sanchez and Burton hurling final grenades out the door before it sealed shut. Captain Russo poured fire from the cockpit-mounted cannons into the Ravagers swarming the landing pad as the shuttle lifted off. Wells coughed blood inside his oxygen mask as the medkit alarms wailed. Did we get them all out, Captain? You pulled off another miracle, Sergeant Russo replied firmly. Your whole squad made it, thanks to you. Wells managed a wet, choking laugh. Just doing. My job, sir. Couldn't let those ugly bastards have my planet. His eyes slowly closed as he faded into unconsciousness. Sanchez cut Wells' body armor free and frantically worked to stabilize him as the shuttle accelerated away from the swirling mass of Ravagers below. Watching the medics fight to save Wells, Chen shook his head in awe at the man's stubborn refusal to yield. Even with a spear through his guts, they were beaten, outnumbered 50-1, but Wells had pulled them out somehow, like he always did. Crazy son of a bitch, Chen muttered. Too damn mean to die. The shuttle climbed rapidly through the smoke-filled sky. Below, the ruins crawled with insectoid death. But today, at least, humanity had survived thanks to soldiers with courage in their hearts and fire in their souls. Soldiers like Sergeant Wells, who Chen knew would soon cheat death itself and climb right back onto the front lines. Because this was a war for the very survival of humankind, and they would never, ever give up